This is 3 News with John Campbell and Carol Hirschfeld.
Kia ora, good evening. One of the most powerful tropical storms ever to hit Australia has begun to lash parts of the country's west. Cyclone Vance is rated Category 5, the top of the scale for cyclones. Authorities say Vance is more powerful than Cyclone Tracy, which destroyed Darwin on Christmas Eve 1974. The towns of Onslow and Exmouth are in its path, and most of their residents have left or battened down in storm shelters.
Residents of the communities in the path of Cyclone Vance have fled the rising winds and the promise of destruction. They've sought safety in Karratha and Carnarvon, where the number of refugees grew as the storm approached. The Cyclone Warning Centre said there'll be very destructive winds of more than 250 kilometres an hour, peaking to 290.
This is a cyclone where every possible precaution has to be taken.
There were warnings of a very dangerous storm tide as the cyclone crossed the coast. The sea level could rise by 6 metres, causing extensive floods. Despite all this, at ground zero in the town of Exmouth is TV3 cameraman Jeff Mackley.
It's incredible. This is a full Category 5 cyclone. The wind speed out my door now is 290 kilometres an hour. The eye of the storm is less than 30 kilometres from me. I just recently spoke to the lady at the Cyclone Warning Centre in Perth. She told me that in the next hour it's going to get much worse. There are trees down here, roofs lifting off. About an hour ago I was out filming under the side of a restaurant when the roof fell on top of me. Luckily I was wearing a hard hat, but still a bit of a knock. But it's now so dangerous that if you went outside at all you'd be killed. The worst storm to ever hit Australia, according to the Cyclone Warning Centre.
Another part of Western Australia has already had a taste of cyclone damage. The township of Moora, about 180 kilometres north of Perth, was flooded after Cyclone Elaine dumped 200 millimetres of rain. The Moora River burst its banks and almost all the 1,800 residents had to leave town. The hospital was evacuated, but some farmers chose to stay. Their stock had to swim to safety. Many of the evacuees were taken to Perth, where they're waiting for the waters to recede and their prospects to improve. Further north, Cyclone Vance caused extensive damage as it crossed the coast late this afternoon. The authorities haven't been able to assess the damage, but the effects of the cyclone are predicted to last for days. Max Hayton, 3 News.
And as you heard in that story, 3 News cameraman Jeff Mackley is in amongst the action in Western Australia. Communications are difficult, obviously enough, but we hope to get his pictures out and bring them to you tomorrow night.
We're going to cross back now live to Western Australia for more on Cyclone Vance. 3 News cameraman Jeff Mackley is in the town of Exmouth. Jeff, the storm now seems to have passed. You've been outside. What have you seen?
Well, Carol, I've just been for a drive around what's left of the town with one of the local residents. There's 1 or 2 streets where there's not a lot of damage, but most of the rest of the town, there are areas like a resort that I went to where all the buildings have been absolutely and totally destroyed. There are small pieces of them just spread over the paddocks, and there are bits in trees. There's bits of buildings are wrapped around trees, what little trees there are left standing. And most of the trees it looks like someone's gone around with a giant weed whacker and just chopped them all off just above ground level. It really is bad. There are vehicles overturned by the force of the storm. Caravans just totally destroyed, with bits of them wrapped around lampposts made out of solid railway iron just bent over to the ground with the force of the wind.
Jeff, you had a freak accident where you were hit by a restaurant roof. Tell us what happened.
Well, I was sort of trying to shelter from the force of the wind and filming in the doorway of a restaurant when part of the restaurant roof fell on top of me. I then had to crawl back around the corner to where I had the car parked behind the building and was actually blown about 50 feet end over end across the ground and ended up in a garden. The wind was so powerful you couldn't stand up in it. The rain was hitting you like bullets. I basically had to crawl along the ground with a rope to get the camera back for a start, and then to get inside the building. So yeah, it was pretty serious.
Well, we hope you're well. We want you to stay safe, Jeff. Jeff Mackley in Exmouth, Western Australia. Thank you.